Today we're touring 3 beautiful homes that bring coastal design to life with effortless, lived-in elegance. First, we step inside a stunning Connecticut retreat where bold design meets cozy charm with grasscloth wallpapers, shiplap details, and layers of patterned textiles creating the perfect family sanctuary. Next, we head to Williamsburg, Virginia, to explore a home that blends traditional style and grandmillennial touches with breezy coastal flair. And finally, we travel just outside Chicago to see a New England-inspired haven filled with timeless furnishings, personal artwork, and an incredible backyard made for entertaining. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Joy. Welcome to my home in Fairfield, Connecticut. Let's go.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Liz Joy. I am a content creator and I own the women's lifestyle brand Maria, and we are here in my home in Fairfield, Connecticut. In 2019, my husband had just left his job in New York City to come work full-time with me, and that gave us a little freedom as to where we could live because we weren't tied to New York. So I always wanted to live in Fairfield. This is actually where I went to college, and we found a fixer-upper, and I brought my husband here on a whim. It was a raised ranch, and we put an offer in. It was actually my birthday when the offer was accepted, and then from that point we remodeled it for the entire next year to make it what it is now. So because we live in a beach area, all of the houses have to be raised for flooding. So when we bought the existing house, it was raised, but they had raised what was originally here. So what we did was we kept the original structure, but we remodeled pretty much everything. We added a second floor, we added a finished attic, we put a pool in, and we really made it our own. We are a very close-knit family, so we spent a lot of time together, and when we were designing the house, I really wanted all of the rooms to kind of flow into each other. I wanted this big open space to have the couch so we could watch movies. I wanted it to be really close to the kitchen so that when I'm cooking, I can be a part of the family, or when Brian's cooking. So having that kind of open floor plan with very easy flow from room to room was super important. And then tying in the outside to the inside. Summer is our favorite season, so being able to come in from the pool, come in and make a snack in the kitchen, everything really flows nice for our family. Welcome to my office. So this office was originally pretty much white space, and over time I've added prints and patterns and lots of different textures and seating areas, and now it feels so homey and such a representation of what I love most. So the wallpaper is this gorgeous pink, and I love the vertical print that it has. I was a little nervous to put it all over the room, but Dana insisted that it would look good, and she was so right. I love it even on the ceiling. It balances so beautifully with this really pale blue color and the pops of yellow from the bench. The drapes are really, really special to me because I work very closely with some block printers in Jaipur, India. And this was actually going to be a dress, but it ended up working so pretty as the drapes in this room. We didn't have quite enough, so we intentionally put a band here and then finished the bottom with this beautiful cream color. And I love the way it turned out. One of my employees, Haley, loves to needlepoint, and she needlepointed this Mariah sign for me, and I love it so much. So it has a perfect home, and it goes so good with the wallpaper, and it's just one of those things also that makes me smile every time I think of it because I love her and it reminds me of her. So the built-ins here were original. We put these in as soon as we made this room an office, and they're very, very functional because they store so much stuff. And then I get to display my pretty things in the shelf, which I always wanted to be able to do. I'm a huge book reader. I love pulling out a book when I want to get inspired. So all of my favorite books are in here. I've got some great pictures of the family, which just always help me feel grounded, and just little things that I've picked up throughout my life, throughout my travels. Like this is a picture that I actually got when I was studying abroad in college in Florence, Italy. And I love the way it looks here. It just makes me happy every time I see it. I come to this space first thing in the morning. I make my coffee when my kids are still sleeping. I will check my emails, check in with my team, and I love this space because it really just feels like my sanctuary. It's decorated exactly how I want it, and it really functions really well for me to keep me inspired and just having me feel really productive throughout the day. So this is my kind of little pin board that I have at my home office. In my office at the studio, there's tons of these around, but I like to keep this one. I like to keep it with the season that I'm currently working on. So I'll pin up some of the textiles that we're using. I also print out a bunch of inspiration images that I just find very aesthetic and pretty. So I love having a pin board here because I can easily pin up my inspirations. I can easily pin up the textiles that we're currently working with in the season, and I love to print out pictures that are inspiring to me. So it could be someone's outfit, it could be the scenery, it could be the setting. It's like the whole vibe of the collection that we're currently working on, and I kind of pin that up just to keep me reminded of what the theme of the season is. We love bringing Polaroids on vacation. It's kind of nice. It's a nice way to capture the moments without being glued to your phone. So we have tons of Polaroids, and I love displaying them in shadow boxes like this with shells that we may have picked up from the trip. So having these things around just makes me so happy. I love this. This is super special to me. My mom actually hand painted every month on this calendar, so I love keeping this at my desk. She's such a talented painter. I wish I got that from her, but yeah, this also just makes me smile every time I see it. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I clearly have a thing for shells. They just have always made me so happy. So I have these little trinkets around with shells that we've found throughout our travels. And sometimes when I'm thinking, I just take them out and look at them and kind of play with them if I'm on a call or something. I don't know. There's something about the shells that makes me just feel like grounded and happy. I am a huge Facebook Marketplace junkie. It's one of the first things I do every morning, and I feel like because I've used it so much, the algorithm just serves me what I want. And I found this beautiful blue and white jar with sailboats on it, and I had to have it. It was from a woman a town over, and I just love the way it looks in the shelf. But I love Facebook Marketplace. It's like my little version of being able to hunt for antiques on a daily basis, and I find so many good things. So when you walk into the home, we have our foyer, which is obviously where we all enter into the house, and then to the right of that is my office. Right behind my office, we have the kids' toy room, which is kind of William's mess room, where he plays with all of his Legos, all of his magnet tiles, and then you come into this open living room with the kitchen right behind it. Once you're in the foyer, you can also go upstairs, and that's where we have our 4 bedrooms, our master bedroom, and the 3 children's bedrooms. When people ask me what my style is for the home, I really don't know what to say. I love a collected look, so I love to have items in my home that truly bring me joy. When I first moved in, I had a pretty much whitewashed house, and I wanted to live in that kind of white space for a while so that I could really take my time and put things into the house that made sense, that made all of us happy. And so it's basically just a collection of things that make me happy. I love lots of color. So as you can see when we go through the house, lots of pattern wallpapers. I also have a apparel business, so I'm very influenced and inspired by the prints that we put on our dresses, and I kind of translate that into elements in our home, which you'll see like in the pillows, in the wallpaper, in the decor. So I would say it's a pretty collected, eclectic, coastal style home. So welcome to my dining room. We love to entertain, so this room gets a ton of use. I love how big and long the table is for having multiple guests and children, and I love how bright and happy this room feels. I love all of the details in this room. The ceiling is really special. I love how it has this shiplap frame in the center, and then these basket lights just bring me so much joy. And when you light them at night, the light that it casts in the room is so pretty. And they just add like a very natural beachy vibe to this room that I love so much. And then to take down a little bit of the beach, because obviously the palm fronds on the wallpaper, we've got this beautiful plaid upholstery on our dining chairs, which I love. And then the rug, which is a wool rug that was custom, but it just ties the colors in so, so nice. And then the drapery. This one was a wow factor for me. I wasn't sure about it, but as soon as it went up, I fell so madly deeply in love. I love how it grounds the room. It really has this powerful nod to nature, which I feel like ties in so beautifully with the birds on the wall, which I love so much. They add so much beautiful color. And right in this section, we have this really beautiful vintage buffet, which I love so much. I love the warmth that it adds to the room with the pink lampshades is such a fun nod. And then this really fun wall of eclectic plates and some of my favorite books and some family photos. So I love adding plates to a wall because it's such a nice form of art. It's a little bit different than a painting or something you would find usually, but it adds so much visual interest. These are new, but they kind of all flow in beautifully. And I love the sort of the shape that it adds to the wall as well. So I was actually at a work event in California and I saw this wallpaper installed and I immediately knew I needed it in my home. I thought the color was so pretty. I wasn't sure where, but I knew it had to be in the home, and it is so perfect for the dining room. I love this bar pass-through from the kitchen to the dining room. I knew when we were building the house I wanted to have an archway somewhere, and I felt like this was the perfect place because you can pass the food and the drinks from the kitchen right through to the dining room, and it's the perfect passageway from the kitchen to the dining room. I was also really fortunate to work with two amazing women. My friend Gail, who's an interior designer, helped me when we were building the house with the layout. I really didn't know much about the sort of structural parts of the home, and she really helped create that flow and that function for our family of 5. And then my really close friend, actually one of my best friends, Ashley, has a very close friend, and her name is Dana, and she works for Molly Patton Design, and she is so good at kind of mixing those prints and finding those antiques. And I find that when I work with someone else, the chemistry between us really creates the magic. So if I see something, I want to bounce that idea off her. And when we were building the house, I wanted to bounce ideas off Gail. So I feel like having a person who's really focused and talented at home was so crucial for the way the home turned out. So this is our family room. We spend so much time in this space. This is where we all gather at the end of the day. We watch a movie as a family together. Once the kids are asleep, Brian and I will often find ourselves on the couch watching one of our shows. This is really just the most relaxing room for us. The kids love being in here with us. Like I was saying earlier, William makes forts with the chairs and we kind of just let it all happen during the day. and it just feels very warm and cozy. There's nothing I love more than putting the fireplace on in the winter. But yeah, this is really where a lot of our sweet moments as a family happen. A sectional was always really important for me to have just because I feel like it fits our family of 5 so well. And I love that I can take my spot, which is the end here, and lay down and watch a show. But it really fits our family. We all pile onto that and have such fun together. And then I thought these chairs were so interesting. And this fabric choice for the upholstery is so fun, and it pulls all of the colors in this whole space together in these cushions. And I love the natural raffia to them. And the ottoman was something that, again, was very intentional with the color. It pulls in the berry from our drapery really nicely, and it houses all of our favorite coffee table books, and we put our feet up on here at night. But I love the way all of these colors kind of work together so beautifully. I always loved the way these natural beams looked, and this is actually from a railroad, which is really interesting. There's a place in Connecticut that specializes in these. It's called Board Silly. I went with Gail actually to pick this one out, and I love this little hole it has in here. Everyone always asks me what this is for, but this is actually just how this naturally was found, and I kind of think it's fun. It's a little quirky. And then the frame TV I love because you can change the art on it depending on the season. I love the vintage look of these brass candle holders with the pop of berry in the candle. I think that looks really neat. This I feel like was the find of a century. One of the interior designers in the area was closing down her store. She was moving locations, and I went at the last minute and found this piece and knew that it was perfect for this corner. I love the old aged look of it, and the color is just so stunning. Everybody asks about it when they come into the house, and it's also really fun to style. I love changing out the decor on the inside and on the top. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite pieces in the whole house. Probably my favorite piece, actually. It houses all of my favorite books, and then again, a lot of my vintage treasure finds, like the shell box. My mom actually gave me that painting when she first learned that I was doing textiles in India. One of her friends from India gave that to her, and she passed it down to me. So I feel like that's really special. And all of our tableware is stored in here, and candlesticks. This was a wedding gift, this vase from Tiffany. So all of the things really kind of mean something to me, and I love being able to look at them through this cabinet. My friend Dana and I recently went antiquing, and we found this basket and thought it would be so perfect for the top of this piece, and I love the way it looks. She found this lampshade, which looks really pretty, again, tying in the colors, and I just love it so much. These shells are also vintage, a lot of old things. The swan too. This was something that actually Dana couldn't get out of her head, and she showed up here one day with the swan walking up my staircase, and she's like, this has to be here, and I love it so much. So yeah, this whole area, just the colors, it all just makes me so happy. So these shelves are such a nice moment for me to showcase things that I have found and love so much. Originally, they were kind of like perfectly styled, but as time went on, I started to add things that I just truly love, and I wasn't afraid of mixing color. I wasn't afraid of mixing old with new, and I just really love how it all turned out. Again, there's tons of shells in here. I've got 2 cases down here of shells, an old brass piece that is so pretty, a little touch of some modern art, some of my favorite books, baskets. I love the way this mix of color looks, and it just feels very cozy and homey and like a true representation of just life, really. Our previous house was more of a kind of farmhouse design. We were actually like living in the woods at that point, and then when we moved here to the beach, my style kind of completely changed. And then as I mentioned before, starting the fashion brand really injected tons of color to what I wanted my home to look like. I think my favorite room in the house is this area because we spend so many good times as a family here. We all pile on this couch almost every single night. We all share our meals on the counter in there. My husband and I love to cook together, so I feel like this area is really where the heart of the home is. So in the summer, we are outside as much as possible. So if the weather is nice, I have to be outside from the time I sip my coffee until I am about to fall asleep. I love to be outside. I love to be at that pool. I love when the neighborhood kids come over. We walk to the beach sometimes for happy hour, so we're outside a ton. So right now in Connecticut, this is when we shine, the summer. So I'm gonna take you guys outside to our backyard oasis. I love coming out here. It's my favorite place. We actually recently put this table out on the deck. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, shocker. And I love having dinner out here with the kids as well. The sun sets on this side, so it's so nice to just sit here and enjoy a nice meal with the family. And it's really convenient off the kitchen. So I love that. So here is our little backyard kitchen. Brian does all of his famous grilling on this grill. I love when he grills because it means I don't have a mess to clean up in the kitchen. But when we have big groups here in the summer, this is where we eat. We entertain at this table. And we've got a little fridge and garbage out here. So we've got it kind of all figured out in the backyard. And then obviously, when you're finished with your meal, you can go and take a dip in the pool. It's a saltwater pool that we put in when we moved into the house, and I love this pool. It brings me so much joy to sit at this pool with my family and just relax. I get out of the house where I could be doing a million things, and I just grab a book or grab a friend, have a glass of wine, and we hang out, and it's just the best. The kids also love, obviously, having a pool. Something I always wanted growing up. So when we moved into this house, this was my must. Hydrangeas are my favorite flower. So again, when we moved in, we really wanted to create some sort of privacy because we live in this beach area and there's a lot of houses that are close together. So we planted these pear trees, which give us a really nice hedge here. And then in between, we planted hydrangeas, which I just love. They look so pretty and I enjoy them all summer long. And a newer hobby for me is gardening. My husband and I built this garden, and I do tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers. We didn't do cucumbers this year, but the tomatoes that we get and the peppers that we get are so delicious. And honestly, going into that garden for me is like my form of meditation. I go in there, I forget about everything. I do all of my weeding, my trimming. I take the fruit off the branches, and I love taking care of those plants. It brings me so much joy. I get a lot of questions about the pool. It's actually a fiberglass pool. So they cut the hole and they drop the pool in. And it's such a great pool. It's very little maintenance. And we did a saltwater pool, which I really like. I also get a lot of questions about the size of the pool. It's a 35 long by 15 wide pool with a hot tub. There are kids in here all summer long, and just honestly, nothing makes me happier. It's such a great addition to the house. And then along this side of the yard, we planted privet, which hedges so nice. It grows so fast. So if you're looking for any sort of privacy hedge, I highly recommend the privet. So because we live in the beach area, all of the houses are raised. So when we found the house, it was raised on just these cement pillars, and it really wasn't nice looking. So we kind of finished the bottom of the house to make it look more like it was part of the house, even though it's really just kind of a garage. But I really love all of the different elements and the different dimensions that we added to the house. I love that we have the cedar shingles paired with the board and batten, and then all of the different railings. I have 3 kids. So one is 5 and the other 2 are 10 and 12. And so I really want this home to be something that they feel like they can live in and they don't have to be too nervous about messing things up. My son will take apart our living room on a daily basis and make tents and forts in here. And I kind of just have to let it go because I love that he's using his imagination like that. So I'm not too much of a stickler about having the house clean, but at the end of the night, I put it all back together, and then the next day it all happens again. We also live in a really kid bustling neighborhood, so there's constantly neighborhood kids in and out of here, and they all go into my pantry, they swim in my pool. So it's kind of just a very free, open home, which I love. That's what I always wanted. So that's kind of how we live in the house. So I had been working as a content creator from the time I was 28, and I really focused in on style and fashion. And after about 10 years of doing that sort of content, I decided that it would be really smart and fun for me to create my own line of clothing. So I started doing that in 2022, and it's slowly grown over the years. And we have now 10 full-time female employees. We produce everything from dresses, sweaters, outerwear. We're just getting into denim, which is super exciting. And our office is here in Fairfield, just a mile away from the home. And it feels just like an extension of my life. The people I work with have become great friends, and it just feels like the full picture. Welcome to the kitchen. This is the heart of the home where we cook all of our meals together and spend so much time. I love the layout of this kitchen. One of my favorite parts about this kitchen is the backsplash tile, which was when we built the house. This is what we picked out. And because I'm on Instagram and things, I probably get asked about this tile once or twice a day. I just think it's really unique and pretty. I love the color so much, and I love the handmade nature of it in the room. I also really love the look of an unlacquered brass faucet. This was something that I really wanted for this kitchen, and I did all of the hardware in unlacquered brass as well. Recently, I changed up my kitchen shelves to house all of my wedding china, which I wasn't using, and it was literally collecting dust in our basement. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna start using our wedding china that we haven't used. And I love the way it looks on the shelf. I've got a nice collection of cookbooks here that I constantly refer to when I need some inspiration. And I love also having plants in the kitchen. I love these topiaries. These are lemon myrtle. And then I've got a little collection of olive trees growing. And then I also love having a lamp in the kitchen at night. I feel like it adds a nice little touch of warmth to the room. Brian is a better cook than I am. I feel like I started out cooking, but as my workflow kind of increased, Brian has taken on a lot of the cooking responsibilities, and he enjoys it so much, and he's actually really, really good. So there's nothing I love more than coming home and the house smelling like a home-cooked meal. So when we built the house, I was really interested in incorporating a lot of white oak. So we did these white oak beams that you'll find throughout the house, and then we tied this into the shiplap hood with the white oak trim, and I love the way that came out. Obviously we have a nice big range here, and this is the griddle where Brian makes pancakes every Saturday and Sunday morning. I would say we're at this kitchen island this is probably the most used piece of furniture that we have in the whole house. We all sit here and we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. As much as I say I want to eat on a table, we always end up eating at the counter. But I kind of love it. It's just what we do, and it's nice and big for all of us to fit. This is a quartz countertop that has the look of marble, but isn't as porous as marble. So I really love this choice. I always have lots of fresh fruit for the kids to snack on, so they don't go into the pantry and get the unhealthy stuff. And I like to keep fresh flowers. Right now we have a ton of hydrangeas growing in the yard, so I am every day filling the house with the hydrangeas, and I love the way they look. The floors that we chose for the house are 5-inch character grade white oak. I get that question a lot too, and I love the way they look. They've obviously gotten lots more character over the years of living here, but I love the color, and they're super easy to clean. I would do these floors over and over again. I love them. This little nook right off the foyer was empty for so long, and then I realized that this bar cart fits perfectly. So I kind of used it as a little moment to showcase some art, some antiques that I found, a picture of the kids, and more of our linens. But I kind of love the way it all looks together. And then on our first floor, we have a powder room, which I'll take you guys into now. I love this sink. I forget what these are called, but this was something that I really wanted when we built the house. I just think it looks so cool. And then this really fun blue penny tile, which I love the color of. And then this wall is really fun. This was actually a recent addition, and it houses Slim Aaron's art, and it just looks really cool all together. So I wanted the studio that we work in to feel like a home. So I made a kitchen in there, and it's really cute, of course. And we took out the drop ceiling. There's these beautiful hanging basket lights. So I really wanted it to feel like a design studio with tons of natural light. Everything is kind of white-ish, and the clothes really make up the decor in the studio. And then the store, which is attached to the studio, feels to me like a little treasure box. It's where we put all of our recent collections and also things that I have found throughout my years of antiquing and thrifting. So you'll see, it's really, really cool. And welcome to our foyer. I love this space so much. This was another space that sat empty for a while and I couldn't figure out what to do with it, but with the help of a couple friends, it came out so pretty. This piece was a Facebook Marketplace find. It was $300 and it's solid pine, antique, beautifully made. One of my favorite finds in the house. And I love having a nice colorful stack of books here, a little photo of the kids from one of our trips to Costa Rica, this beautiful blue lamp that ties a lot of the color in, a mirror to check yourself out before you walk out the door, and this really pretty block print inspired rug. This was also a new recent addition that I love so much. And then here we have a bench that was pretty plain looking before, and I really wanted to do something fun with it. So Dana had mentioned upholstering it with something that we had. And I actually had two Maria tablecloths that were kind of just sitting there, and we turned it into this. And I cannot love this piece anymore. It just adds so much femininity and prettiness to the space. I always wanted a Dutch door. I feel like since I was a little girl, I envisioned myself as a mom whose kids were playing outside and who could stand at the door like this and watch them play. And so when we built the house, this was something that I had to have, and I love having this Dutch door. Anytime the weather is nice, I have it open. People ask me all the time, like, what about the bugs? And I kind of just don't worry about it. It just brings me so much happiness to have this front part of the house open like this, and I just feel like it's a very welcoming vibe. So one thing that I've slowly learned in decorating our home is that it's okay to mix prints and patterns. I think a lot of people want to pigeon themselves into one style, but what I have found to be the most fulfilling is to combine different prints and patterns, to combine different unexpected colors, to not worry if something isn't meant to go there. If you like the way it looks there, like, that's great. So I think just having this free form of decorating has really made this home unique and made it feel like me. And I feel the same way in fashion. You should dress with what makes you happy. Nothing has to match. I love mixing high and low. I love mixing cowboy boots with a feminine flirty top. So I feel like that sort of mix and match goes from fashion to home. I'm gonna take you upstairs, but before we do, I wanna talk to you guys about this moment. This is one of my favorite artists, Mary McGuire. I love this piece. Having walls that are board and batten are a little bit tricky with art, but we kind of just ignored it and went for it, and I love the way this little vignette came together. It adds a lot of character to an otherwise blank white space. So let's go upstairs. So this is our second floor. We have 4 bedrooms on this floor. My 3 children share a bathroom, and my husband and I have the primary suite. And I've cleaned up a little bit for you guys, but usually you can find things like this all throughout the house. I love this bedroom. It feels very serene to me and peaceful, and I love how open it is with these vaulted ceilings. This was something that I really, really wanted when we were building the home, and it came out so great. The whole room just feels very calm. A really nice place to come to go to sleep and relax. So we have this beautiful wallpaper on the walls, and I chose a very natural textured nightstand for Brian and myself with an upholstered bed and this really fun Americana quilt that is a little bit funky, but I love it. I love all the color and I think it's really, really pretty. So I actually picked out all of these things at the same time. The mirror that would go behind the nightstand and the lamps. I loved the design on this lamp and thought it was really pretty and a really nice way to tie in all of the blues of the room. This is Brian's side. So similar thing, got a picture of the family, one of my favorite candles by Florico, and just like a little couple trinkets for my jewelry. Even though Brian's the first stop as you walk into the bedroom, if the kids wake up in the middle of the night, they will walk the extra 15 feet to wake me up instead of Brian. With a house full of children, sometimes you just have to escape to your bedroom to get a little bit of quiet, but you don't necessarily want to lay in bed. So the idea with having some chairs and a little table here is just to have a nice place to unwind that is separate from the chaos of the house. And I love the way it turned out. And I love this beautiful, bold piece of artwork in the room as well. The yellow really kind of just accents off the blue so nicely. So I'd always typically just bought area rugs in standard sizes, but for this room that was so big, I really wanted it to feel cozy. So I had this rug custom made and I love the space that it takes up on the floor and I love the natural kind of ivory color that it is. When I first moved into the home, I really, like I had mentioned before, it was very white, very minimal decor. I really wanted to live in the space to figure out what my design style was going to be in the home. And I would say that I didn't expect to feel so free about mixing prints, mixing patterns, putting antiques next to new pieces. But kind of as I grew as a fashion designer, I kind of also grew in that way in my home. And I would say I never expected to have drapes with sheers, but that all kind of started to happen once I started really working with textiles. And then right off our bedroom is our primary suite bathroom, and I also love, this room brings me so much peace. There's nothing I love more than drawing a bath and relaxing in here. It's where I first start my day in the shower. It's where I get ready. I film a lot of videos in here when I'm doing my makeup. And I just love the way this room turned out. I love the little hit of wallpaper on the ceiling here and then the high ceiling in the middle and all of the polished nickel finishes. It's very bright and it's really clean and it just really sets the day off right. His and her sink is definitely a must. I love having my own space. And we have a nice walk-in shower here that has a rain shower head, which I love. And it also has a steam room. Brian loves to do steam. You couldn't catch me in a steam room if you paid me, but he loves that. So that's one of the features that we built in here. When we were wallpapering the bedroom, we thought it would be a great idea to tie the wallpaper into the bathroom. And we had only shiplapped some of the walls in here when we were building. So we thought, with the white walls, why not put some wallpaper on? And I really like the way it kind of flows from the bedroom to the bathroom. It looks really pretty. This home through the years has really become my safe place. I love being home so much. I feel like my work is really, really busy during the day. And when I come home, it's just no distractions. It's my family. It's where I can relax. I just absolutely love being here.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jill. Welcome to my home in Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jill Crow. I'm a home decor content creator and owner of Jillian Harbor. Welcome to my home. So we bought this home 2 years ago. We were living in South Florida. My husband was in the Coast Guard at the time. and we were kind of figuring out where we wanted to settle as a family after he retired. So I saw this house pop up online and I really fell in love with the potential of it. It's an older home, it's in Williamsburg, Virginia. We loved this area when we lived in Virginia previously, and I just saw so much potential with it. So we hopped on a plane and we're there, I think in the same day, toured it that night and put an offer in. So I just love this neighborhood. I love this area, the older homes, the history of it. And it just has become such a blessing for our family. We really love it here. I think with every move that we've done, we've had 6 houses in the past 10 years in different states. And with each house and with each state, I've kind of been able to acquire or absorb a little bit of the style in that area. So I think it leans a little bit traditional. In some ways it leans a little bit coastal. I think my husband's den leans a little bit colonial Williamsburg. So I don't know, it's kind of a mishmash, but I think modern traditional is a little bit of a fitting way to describe it. It's a reflection of everywhere that we've lived and everything that I like, which can be sort of eclectic. Welcome to our foyer. This is the first impression that I had of this house was the 2-story foyer, and I just fell in love. I always wanted to have a house with a dramatic entryway. I had never had a house like that. So this was pretty much it. I walked in and I was sold. But what we did in here is we had hardwoods, and a lot of people were upset that I took out the hardwood, but they were really worn, they were original, and they were beyond sanding and repairing. So I went with this larger scale checkerboard floor. And I love this because it's dramatic and it looks like marble, but it doesn't have the maintenance issues with marble. So it's been really great. We had a really cold, snowy winter and it held up really, really well. So the floor is kind of, I think, the first thing that people notice. Then the second thing is this chandelier. This I actually got on Facebook Marketplace, and we were still living in Miami and I saw it up here. And my husband was coming up here for work and I said, is there like any way you could get this chandelier? So he drove to Virginia Beach, he rented a truck, like a box truck, and somehow MacGyvered it to suspend it in the box truck and drove it up here. And then like the house was under renovation, so we had nowhere to really hang it. So we hung it in our garage for like a year. So it was like our chandelier in the garage, but now it's in its rightful place. And I get asked a lot about how do you clean something like this? I think a lot of people don't love the look of a crystal chandelier, but they don't want to clean it. So when we were installing it, we actually had our electrician install a lift. So there's a switch and I just flip the switch and it lowers like to right here, and we can just spray it and wipe it and clean it and then just put the switch and take it back up. I don't reveal the location of the switch because I know my kids would probably play with it all the time, but it's super helpful if you want to go this route. Also in the foyer, I have this chest of drawers that I love. I bought this at an estate sale when we lived in Virginia the first time, so it's kind of zigzagged across all of our moves with us. Some plates that I've collected too that I love. I love doing a plate wall, and I'm kind of playing around with different ways of doing them. And right now I'm in a phase where I love to mix and match the plates. So usually I used to do like all blue and white, but now I'm really adding different colors into it. I have some artwork that I really love in the foyer. This piece over here, my dad actually painted for me. It's of my wedding party. So that was his wedding gift to us. It's really special. He's done that for all of my siblings for their weddings. Over here's a piece from Kendall Blanchard. I love the water lilies. I'm a big fan of Impressionism, and I just love how she captured that sort of vibe. And then over here is a piece by Christo, and I just got that one recently, and I love it because when I was in high school, I had an art history class, and my teacher assigned me Christo, and I had to take this VHS tape home, watch, I think it was all about this project, the Pont Neuf in Paris. And Christo was known for wrapping monuments. He's wrapped islands before. He wrapped, or he did the gates in Central Park, which were just beautiful fabric gates throughout the whole Central Park. But this one really stuck with me, so I was so excited to find it online, and it's signed by him, and so that's another really special piece for me. When people walk in, I just kind of want that wow moment. I've always wanted a foyer like that, where you kind of feel the whole vibe of the house as soon as you walk in. I also wanted it to still feel open and airy, so that's why I don't have a ton of art on the walls in the stairway. I just wanted it to feel like warm, inviting, open, airy, elegant. Okay, welcome to our living room. This is my living room. Mike has his den, and then I have my living room, and we each kind of wanted a space that we could decorate however we wanted. Over here too, I have a little Picasso print. I've recently discovered online auctions, and I'm a little bit addicted to it. I can see why my parents were so addicted to eBay in the 90s, but it's so fun to be able to find pieces that I wouldn't be able to find like near me, but online. So that's a Picasso lithograph. This is a Degas reproduction. And again, here are some of my plates that I've collected over the years and that have survived our moves. Let's talk a little bit too about, I want to show you this mirror over here. So I bought this mirror when we first lived in Virginia. I went to this garage sale, and I was the only person there. It was two brothers, and they were selling all of their mother's things who had recently passed. She lived in North Carolina, and she had some beautiful things, and they were just wanting to get rid of it, which was really, really sad. But I welcomed her stuff with open arms. One of the things was this beautiful gold mirror. It has traveled with me across state lines numerous times. And it's just really a stunning piece, and I'm so pleased that I was able to keep it intact with all of our moves. Same goes for my rattan console. This one as well was something that I was desperate to try to keep intact with all of our moves. And I think a lot of people probably wouldn't put these two together. It's something very coastal with something very traditional, but just to me it feels, I don't know if it's just the blend of having, being in the Coast Guard, of always living in a coastal town, with being in a more traditional colonial town now. It just kind of fits for me personally. I think that's kind of this room too. We have a blend of hardwood furniture with coastal elements, rattan pieces, blue and white mixed with darker greens. To me, it feels very much like me, and that's what I wanted out of what we call my living room. So one of the challenges in our house was that it is very dark. We installed some can lights in the ceiling, a flush mount too, but I chose these coffee tables because they actually have mirrored bottoms with them, so they bounce a lot of light and they bounce it up, so it kind of lightens up the whole space. Just decor-wise, I love interesting objects. I love florals. I try to have some fresh florals in the house at all times. One of the things I love to incorporate in every one of my spaces is something that's living. So a living plant or a fresh bouquet. I've gotten to the point now where if my room doesn't have something living in it, it feels like it's missing something. But anyway, I love like these little touch lamps are so nice. Again, for just adding light in a darker space. Candles, of course, and just little odds and ends. Like I love this wavy bowl. I guess I'm in like a wavy phase right now, but I don't know. And I love coffee table books. That's another source of inspiration for me. Guests, when they come over, they love to sit here and leaf through them together. So I have a mix of grandmillennial one's about entertaining, one's about colonial Williamsburg, puzzles. This is also where we gather if we play board games. We usually play board games every Friday night. And so it's just a great space, functional and decor-wise for me. For me, design is not about having symmetry, not about things matching. I love layering different prints. So you have a very bold rug in here mixed with a striped sofa, mixed with my pillows that have a floral pattern on them. So I don't know, for me, it just all kind of goes as long as it sings off the same sheet of music, but everything can kind of stand alone as well. So I don't know, mismatched sofas, to me it's more elevated than getting something that's matchy-matchy. I love mixing things that I find and that I find beautifully. Like this art is from Home Goods. I believe it's from a Polish artist. So, I mean, I love high and low for sure, either things that are thrifted or things that I can find at commercial stores. My plates here, I got the green ones at an estate sale. The white ones, the oyster plates, are from a brand called Dear Keaton. And my shelf brackets, I love incorporating those too. I have them on both sides of this room. To me, I'm just playing with different ways of doing plate walls. Like a couple years ago, I would have just done blue and white plates. Now I like the different colors. I like incorporating the little sconce brackets. Sometimes I'll put little orchids up here too. I've done little ginger jars up here. I've done my daughter's pottery on top of them. Just whatever kind of strikes me. I like things that I can change around constantly. I do love change quite a bit. So this is my workstation. This is where I write and blog from. I got this desk. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. A man in the next town over was selling and going through all of his friends' belongings that had recently passed. And he had some beautiful stuff too. I almost bought his dining room table, but it didn't fit. But I got this desk for like 75 bucks and it's solid wood. I love the carvings. I love the Queen Anne legs on it. It's just so striking, and I think it has a nice balance with the glass in here, the glass end tables, the marble pieces. It just fits to me. I love it. I recently got this chair. This is by Birch Lane, and it's a tufted, skirted chair. It's super comfortable. I'm a big fan of stripes. Like, I have to kind of pull away from buying everything striped, but it layers great too. I'll put one of my floral pillows over top of it. I love the skirted element of it. I think it's a little more grandmillennial. And I got this rug recently. This is by Ruggable. I love the colors of it. Previously, I had like a beigey cream gray rug in here, and we were really, really pleased with going with something with a little bit more color saturation. It really ties in all of the colors in this room. It's got a little bit of the blues, a little bit of the greens, a lot of the greens, and a little bit of pink and purple as well, which I tend to have like pink and purple flowers too. So I love to, we have a little dog, so it's machine washable. I have little kids, machine washable. I'm a big fan of theirs, and I just love their patterns, and I love how it tied everything in this room together. So these are from my line Jillian Harbor, my pillow brand. I started my company 2 years ago because I was seeing a lot of pillows out there that were like $100, $200, and that was really not in my price point. But I also didn't want a pillow that was going to be 10 bucks and fray and fall apart within a month. So I started a pillow company just to kind of fit the niche that I needed. This is the Camille print. All of our pillows are double-sided and they have piping detail on them, things that are usually only found with high-end designers. I kind of wanted to bring it down into a nice medium price point. This is the Greenwich, and then I have the Mary pillow over here, and I love the Mary. That one's been super popular. It was featured on Meghan Markle's TV show. It was recently in People magazine with Wishbone Kitchen's photo spread. So this one has been well loved by a lot of influencers and content creators. But I just love having my own pillow company and having my own personal brand like that, because it means so much to me to create something from start to finish and to bring it to people, and then to get messages like, thank you so much. You know, I love too those designer pillows, but I can't afford them. And you really, deliver something that has the elements that I wanted, but doesn't break the bank. Okay, now let's go check out the kitchen. So the house was pretty much original. It was built in the late 70s, I believe. So it was a yellow kitchen. It had hardwood floors in a lot of the rooms that had needed a lot of repair. The bathrooms were all original. So we did a lot of renovations while we were still living in South Florida. So kind of working with our contractor remotely to do all of the bathrooms and the kitchen, and kind of open up some of the spaces too. Now we've gotten all those big projects out of the way. My husband and I love to do DIY work. We've been doing things like creating a wine bar in our kitchen, more of a bar in our dining room, a serving buffet. And my husband built the mantle in his den as well. So we love getting our hands dirty and doing some DIY. I think for all of our previous homes, we've been designing them for the next buyer. Like we've lived in houses for 18 months, sometimes 2-3 years. And so a lot of our renovations were so that we could sell it and hopefully make some money off of it. This time around, we're doing things like real wallpaper, not peel and stick, so things are a little bit more permanent. I think my tile choices are a little bit more bold, a little bit more me. Our kitchen has no upper cabinets, which really triggers a lot of people, but for me, I love it. And so I think things like that are a little bit more permanent, that are a little bit more true to my style. I don't really care about the next buyer. I intend to stay here. So it's more a reflection of us than anything. The one tip that was shared with me when I was a young military spouse, we had just gotten married. She was a spouse, her husband was well into his career with the military. She said that every time that they moved, they would buy the worst house in the best neighborhood and they would renovate it, and they would, after the 2-3 years that they were there, sell it and make a profit. And that really stuck with me. We had just bought our first home when we lived outside of New Orleans, and I thought, okay, my career might suffer following his career around. It was really hard for me to find a job. So I thought, let me make improving our house my job while he's in the military. And so that's kind of the strategy that we use to make the most out of moving so often. All right, now let me show you our kitchen. So when we bought this house, this kitchen was pretty much from this beam over. This was the kitchen here, and then over there was the dining room. So it was a rather small kitchen for a house of this size. And we really had more of a vision of having like a big island for everyone to sit and eat at. So we ended up taking down the wall between these two rooms and expanding the kitchen the whole way across. This space had yellow countertops. I want to say yellow countertops, original appliances, original cabinetry. Everything was functioning. So, kudos to the brand of appliances that lasted that long. But we decided we also wanted, because we now had this larger kitchen, to do something that we would never have done before, but since this is our forever home, but we went and did no upper cabinets. This kind of sets some people off online. I think it's either they love it or they hate it, but I love having drawers that I can just look down and see everything in there. So all of my glassware is over here, and over here, all of my dishes and kids' cups are right across from the dishwasher, which is super convenient to get my kids to unload the dishwasher. We did Taj Mahal quartzite countertops, and one of the unique elements we did was to run it up and use it as our backsplash as well. This little design above the sink and over the range is something that I worked with our fabricators to create. I basically just drew this out, and not to get too technical, but I was calling this like, okay, I want like a swoop-de-doo here, and then a drop, and then a run, and then like end with another swoop-de-doo. And it actually came to fruition, which is kind of surprising to most. But I love that, and I love this little ledge that I did across the whole length of the kitchen. I'm somebody that I love changing things out with the seasons. I love art. So I do love that I can put whatever kind of art I want on there. Nothing is permanent. I can put little jars. This is a little jar of salt or a little bowl of salt, some of my plates, cookbooks, little touch lights for extra lighting. To me, it just lives and breathes with us as a family. Nothing is permanent here. I did the same flooring in here that I did in the foyer. I love the checkerboard style. To me, it's super classic. The larger scale is perhaps a little bit more of a modern twist on it, but it cuts down on the grout lines, and it just has more of an impact. We did this massive island. I don't know how two men carried this slab in, but they did it themselves. And this is, I think, 10 feet long. And one thing that I think people are surprised by, but I love IKEA kitchens. And so this is actually an IKEA kitchen. I have the name is like super long. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it starts with an F. But they are such a great, affordable way to have a brand new kitchen. And we've done numerous kitchen renovations. We've done full gut IKEA kitchens before. We've created islands in our kitchen with IKEA cabinets. We've just swapped door fronts with other brands too. So there's all different ways that you can kind of get the most bang for your buck. But I love the style we went with, this black color, and I did unlacquered brass knobs and handles on it for a real nice traditional touch. I chose these lights. I thought they looked sort of old world, maybe a little bit like colonial Williamsburg, something that they would have had without the electricity, obviously. But it also pulls in with that brass color as well. I did 2 pendants over the island. Kind of went back and forth with doing 2 or 3, but I think 2 fits it really nicely. And then over here, this is sort of our headquarters as a family. We have our calendar up here that we put all of our appointments on. This is actually where we pack and ship a lot of our pillows from. There's a printer under here that pulls out. So this is a workhorse section of our kitchen for our business and our family life. I think if you're starting a kitchen renovation, I would really take a pause and think about your day-to-day functionality as a homeowner, as a family. What is going to make the most sense for you? So for us, the best thing was having the dishwasher right across from where we put our plates and our cups. Also doing so many drawers instead of having cabinets. Again, just adds such nice functionality for us as a family. I can see everything. I don't have to climb on top of my countertop to get to things. So think about those. How do you live? What kind of spaces do you need? Do you need to store small appliances? Do you need to store, where do you want like your knives, your forks, knives, spoons? So kind of ironing out all of those day-to-day personal details, and then you can build your kitchen from that starting point. I think sometimes if you go to these showrooms, everything looks so beautiful and you think, oh my God, that's exactly what I want it to look like. But if everything could be beautiful, but it might not make sense for you. So kind of really honing in on what makes sense for your day-to-day functionality. I want to show you this wine bar my husband and I made. This was actually the kitchen's original pantry. So it was like a pantry closet. We installed this flooring. This is actually wood flooring. On the backs and the sides, and then we did these walnut shelves and these brass rails, and then down here we did a little wine fridge, beverage fridge. And I love this little nook. I think it's kind of unexpected. People like round the corner and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I think it also is, kind of what I was saying about making your kitchen yours, thinking about what kind of things that you need. So for us, I love having beverages for my kids over here. This is great for entertaining as well. And it's something that, it's kind of a small space. I'm sure you have a closet in your house that you're like, well, I could probably use something better in here. So it's unexpected and it's super useful for us. I get asked a lot, where's your refrigerator in our kitchen? This was actually like a writing desk with a phone, something straight out of the 70s, 80s. Useful, I kind of do wish I had a spot just to kind of sit down and pay the bills, but it ended up being the perfect width for a refrigerator. So we put it over here. And I also love that sort of design. I think a lot of people emphasize the 3-step kitchen or the 5-step kitchen where you can get from your stove to your fridge within a couple steps. So this is probably a little bit more like a 6-7 step. But I love that when my kids are over here looking through the refrigerator like for too long, they're kind of out of my way if I'm over here cooking. This is sort of a nice open space for people to gather and stare at the fridge. This is just a nice little cute rattan table. We had my family here for my husband's military retirement recently, and so this was another place where I set up like a little lamp, a little flower display, little charcuterie board, and I think we had like an ice bucket over here with some of the open bottles of wine for people to kind of grab and go. And I just love this view as well. Our backyard is super lush. There's just a lot of trees around us, and I love this whole bay window area. It lets a lot of beautiful sunlight in as well. All right, now let me show you our kitchen scullery. Okay, welcome to our scullery. So this is technically where our old dining room was. And I wanted a space for our kitchen that I could have all of my small appliances. Like, I love a small appliance. I have, yogurt makers and ice cream makers and margarita machines. And so the scullery kind of houses all of those small appliances that we use on the daily. This is also where we keep all of our food. I love having drawers for my kids to be able to access their own snacks. And then this room also has a little dishwasher and a little sink. So when we are entertaining, I have everybody put their dirty dishes in here, and I just close off the doors and pretend like someone else is gonna handle it. And then I also have these cabinets on the top that have like all of our coffees and teas and coffee mugs. And then the one over there has some of my entertaining pieces. So like cocktail napkins, linen napkins, vases, candles. Yeah, so the wallpaper in here, I love how it feels to me like colonial Williamsburg. It's sort of pastoral. It's like a muted, darker color. To me, it adds a lot of perspective and depth in here in an otherwise pretty narrow space. It's super impactful, and it kind of kicked the cabinets up a notch. We did the same black cabinetry in here the whole way around. This is also where our trash is, which I would highly suggest if you are building a scullery, like put your trash in here. That way it keeps your outside kitchen nice and pristine and clean. We also did these pocket doors as well, so that if we are having guests over, we could put all the dirty dishes in here and kind of hide everything away. It's also a great space too for catering. So when we entertain, if we're having, we don't entertain that much, but when we have entertained and had some catering, and we just laid it out here like a buffet for everyone. So it's just a super useful space for us. So this area used to be part of the dining room. So the kitchen and the dining room were side by side. We took the wall down in between them, kind of expanded the kitchen maybe 3/4 of the way into that dining room, and then built this wall here to create the scullery. It's not that we got rid of our dining room. We still have the dining room now across the house, but this is a better use of space for us. So we incorporated this dishwasher. I think it's like 24 inches wide, and then also this sink. I love this sink with the cutting board inlay. So sometimes I'll prep food back here, but it's a great way to also hide like your dirty coffee mugs. If somebody's coming over, just pop that over top of it and nobody knows. All right, now let's go check out my family's dining room. I started sharing our home renovations, our DIYs, back in 2021. We had bought a true fixer-upper at the time when we were living in Virginia the first time. I'm talking like holes in the ceiling. We had to rebuild the entire staircase was falling in. It was a true labor of love. And so I started sharing just the day-to-day of that. And I also started sharing home decor that I liked personally that other people could shop. So I think the marriage of those two things, seeing people gravitate to the style that I like, but then also wanting to follow our story as a military family who's sort of working days and nights and weekends to redo this house, really sort of took off. And we love it. It's something that I would do even if it wasn't my job. It's just, I love sharing our story online. And it's opened a lot of opportunities for us. My husband now works with me on it. He's retired from the Coast Guard after 20 years. We have some amazing brand partners that I work with. We started Jillian Harbor together that we run out of our house, which we probably need to stop running out of our house. But it's just been such a blessing for us. And it all just started with putting ourselves out there and just, sharing something that we were doing. I think home decor, at least decorating, was sort of in my blood. My dad's side of the family is very artistic. My grandmother was a seamstress. My grandfather was a woodworker. And so it's kind of been something that came naturally to me. I remember as a child, when my parents would go to the grocery store, I would move their furniture around. I would move their living room sofa around, and they were less than pleased with me for that. But I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, and I didn't know anyone in interior design. They didn't know anyone in interior design. So when I said I wanted to pursue that, they were kind of like, Jill, I think you could do other things. There's probably a better bet for you. But I grew up with, my grandmother, and then I grew up with a neighbor. My neighbor Anne was a DIY extraordinaire. She was amazing. I remember going over to her house, and she would be painting the outside of her house, a 2-story house, with her husband on tall ladders. Like, they just did everything. And I admired that about her. She was a real Renaissance woman in that way. But yeah, I just think from a young age, I would flip through Martha Stewart magazine. I would watch her show, and it just was something that I always wanted to pursue, but I went and pursued degrees in marketing and in French. And so in a way, it's kind of like I've brought the marketing side and my love of interior design together. And, all things kind of played out for me. All right, welcome to our dining room. So you might recognize the wallpaper. It's the same that we used in the scullery. We did this above the chair rail in here and wrapped it the whole way around. I think a lot of people are daunted by the mural wallpaper, but it's really not that hard to install. We worked with an Etsy shop owner out of Poland, and she's super methodical and just has thought of everything. So when you send her your dimensions, she will cut and print the patterns in these giant sheets, like a couple feet wide. Whereas if you're doing like traditional wallpaper or peel and stick, it's usually a lot more slender. So you get a lot of the wall done in just one sheet. And so they just kind of start in one spot and keep going the whole way around the room. We did it in, I think, a day. It was not hard at all. In my dining room, I have this beautiful marble top table. I love marble top tables. I had one in our house in Florida that I sold with the house, and so I missed it. So I got this one. And then I found these chairs at our neighborhood garage sale. They're from North Carolina. That's all she could really tell me about them. But they are, I think, the perfect sort of traditional balance to the marble top. My chandelier I found on Facebook Marketplace. Because you can kind of see this chandelier from the foyer, I wanted them kind of both to be a little bit similar. But I think this one sort of almost has a French provincial vibe to it, which I love. I'm a Francophile. So that went really nicely in here. And then we also did the same cabinetry from the kitchen in here. I guess interestingly, I shouldn't bury the lead, but this was originally a bedroom. It was a bedroom, and this wall was solid, and this wall was solid to the foyer, and there was just a little doorway over there. So we ended up creating these cutouts. So again, we could let more light pass through and just have a lot prettier of a sight line from room to room. We did a marble top on top of this buffet that I love. And this punch bowl, my husband Mike actually got that for me for my birthday a few years ago. We were visiting his parents in Maryland, and we walked into like a consignment store, and it was there. And I have trekked that all across the country, and now it finally has its rightful place. Candlesticks I got at an estate sale as well. Those are very heavy. So this is a chest of drawers. This is by Serena and Lily. And I guess one thing I wanted to point out, because I do have little kids, is I tend to keep my kids' uniforms in here. This is like packed with their uniforms for school. And that's been like a little hack that I've really like to pass on to new parents. When you're trying to get your kids out the door, it's so hard to have to keep running to their bedrooms to go and get like their socks or the shirt that they have to wear today. So we keep all of our uniforms down here during the school year in the dining room, but that's just what works for us. So again, doing what works for you and your family. This little demi-lune table I got at an estate sale in Virginia. This is another one that's probably has been through the wars of moving. I think I've moved this one to 4 different houses, but I love it. I love that classic style of it, and it just works really well in this space. I love how the handles on it sort of match the Serena and Lily handles as well. And then these two chairs have also been through the war, but I love a cane back chair. I got these at an estate sale with my mom in Virginia, and I couldn't even fit them in my car. Like, we basically had to make 2 trips back home. But I think they go so well with the dark wood in here, and they provide extra seating when we have people over. All right, now let's go step into my husband's den. Welcome to my husband's den. So I kind of gave him free rein to decorate in here and pull things that he really loves. So I guess let's start with the paint color. I get asked a lot about that. That's Farrell and Ball light blue. And it's this really pretty muted blue, gray. Sometimes it looks green even. And I love it. It sort of lives and breathes throughout the day. This mantle he actually made. We had like a really tall fireplace that was just basically brick, and it came up to here. So he chiseled down about 3 rows, and then I designed the structure of it, and he kind of brought it to life. He's really talented with woodworking. Originally, this room had like wood paneling. I think it was like wood paneling up to like a weird height, almost like higher than a chair rail. So we took that down and smoothed out the walls, and we did close to a color drench in here where everything is that light blue color, except the ceiling, but I'm kind of thinking I might want to paint the ceiling it as well. Above the mantle is his TV. Again, I gave him free rein, so this is like where he loves to watch football, where we do movie nights. I love the frame TVs because it's kind of like a perfect marriage of he gets his big TV, but it also is disguised with some art. He's, again, really talented with woodworking, so he made the frame for it. On the pieces on the mantle, I try to keep it a little bit more minimal. So we have these beautiful blue and whites, and then these Chesterfield dogs, which I think I got. No, these aren't Chesterfield. I don't know what kind of dog that is. Dalmatian, I suppose. I love these though. They're so cute, and they're bookends, but I love to just kind of put them anywhere. I think I got these from an Instagram antique seller. That's another thing I love, another place I love to source from. You know, if you can't find it at your local consignment shop, there's so many of those online, those antique sellers that you can buy from. So I got this George Washington painting at an estate sale, and then this chest of drawers. Gosh, where did I find this? I think I found, I bought it off somebody. I don't remember, but this one, I remember I shared about it, and I got so many messages saying like, do you believe in haunted furniture? And I was like, no, I don't think I do. But then I was always a little bit sketched out that, oh my gosh, is this? So we started calling it the ghost chest, and it's just caught on. And now my husband's like, do you know where that is? I'm like, I think it's in the ghost chest. So it's just one of those family terms now. This ginger jar is actually from that woman's garage sale that her sons were doing, the same woman with the mirror. I have this from her, and I also have all of her Christmas china. So I find some peace in that, even if her kids didn't want her stuff, like I'm kind of carrying on her traditions. She had every piece of Spode Christmas china, and now it's in my collection. And I'm, so if your kids don't want your stuff, maybe there's somebody like me who does. So find some solace in that. My mother-in-law got me this chicken. It's from France, actually. And I had salt and pepper shakers similar to this that I got in Normandy that ended up breaking in one of our moves. That's been probably one of the hardest things about moving so often, is that I love my collections. I love things that have meaning to us. I don't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff I do have is really significant to me. So when stuff breaks, it's a little bit of a heartbreak, but this kind of took the place, and I love that little guy. Over here, he loved this. We saw this at a consignment store here. We don't know anything about him, but we call him George. And I think he fits that colonial Williamsburg vibe that we kind of have going in here. These sconces I found at, this one, there's this guy I befriended who ran estate sales. I mean, you probably have gathered that I like an estate sale. but he invited me to his storage unit once where he had like spillover contents from his sales, and these were in there, and I bought them. And I get probably a DM once a week about these things, and I feel so bad because I have no clue what brand they are or anything, but they are so cool. And I think they're masculine for his den, and they fit. So this is where we gather we do Friday night movie nights as a family. And so this couch is super comfortable. It's down cushions. You kind of sink into it. And then we've tried different configurations in here. Sometimes we'll move that chair here if we're all watching TV. I love swivel chairs because they're super versatile. You can be conversing with others on this couch, or those swivel chairs can turn around and talk to the people in the dining room. So I definitely love kind of changing things up as much as I can. And we try different configurations all the time. So this room was really dark originally. It had wood paneling up the wall, which made it really dark. This wall was actually completely intact. So we opened it up. That brought a lot more light through. But one of the ways that I love to bring light into a space, I don't love overhead lighting that much. I'm a big fan of lamps, like lamp addiction. This one I also get messaged about a lot, but I found it at HomeGoods and I snatched it up. I think it's so rare to find a pretty lampshade with a pretty lamp. Usually I have to go and source the pretty lampshade, but I love sort of these palm leaves, again, kind of coastal, maybe a tobacco leaf, and then having this really pretty pleated lampshade with it. Over there, that's a Target lamp that sometimes lives in my son's room, and sometimes I bring it down here, but he lets me borrow it. And it's, again, it just kind of feels more masculine and fun. So this ship, actually my husband's grandfather made it for him when he was a kid. And that was one that we bubble wrapped and tried to keep intact with all of our moves. I think a couple things have kind of come undone, but I love that we can kind of display this one in a nice prominent place in his den, in his living room. All right, now let's step through these doors and check out our back deck. All right, welcome to our deck. So this is where I love to spend so much time in the evenings. I love our furniture, our patio furniture. It's this really pretty wicker. Some of my Jillian Harbor pillows on here as well. We love to entertain out here. And my sofa and my chairs and the other sofa are all from Birch Lane. And my umbrellas, which I couldn't live without, these are actually from Walmart. And they are so nice because I can move them around depending on how sunny it is out here. I love to garden. Unfortunately, we have a lot of deer in our neighborhood, so they will gobble up anything in my yard. So I tend to bring as much as I can up here. So all my hydrangeas and my vegetable garden. So we can sort of back up right to a walking path. And I wanted to create some privacy, so I installed these really nice tall planters with some nice ferns on top of it. So if I'm out here and I'm sitting, I can't see them, they can't see me. Over here is my vegetable garden, which, my goodness, my tomato plant has really erupted in the past week. We've had a lot of rain and now a lot of sun, so it's super happy. And then over here is my garden box. I grew up gardening. My pap would garden. My dad was a big gardener, and it's something that I've really was kind of in the back of my head when we chose Virginia as our landing spot, because I knew I could garden so nicely here. So I really wanted like an outdoor space that felt like I was still inside. Probably the biggest way that I do that is by using area rugs. I think when you cover your deck with something soft underfoot, it kind of all flows from there. Outdoor pillows also do a great job of softening the space, making sure you have conversation areas set up. So like, this is kind of a really ideal setting to have this much furniture out here. We can all converse. And then bringing some of your elements from inside outside. So this is glassware, but I also love melamine. I love alfresco dining. So things like that I can kind of bring out here, and people tend to linger a little bit longer. Certainly if it's the summertime and it's hot where you are, creating shade so people feel comfortable. Sometimes we'll bring like a little TV out here and watch TV at night. And I love having music going. I think that also kind of creates a nice vibe where people don't want to leave. That's kind of a problem, but it's a good problem to have. Home to me, I think, means comfort, a place that you can really relax, find inspiration in. And I do tell people who move a lot that that's really comforting to me, because no matter where you've planted your roots or where you've been assigned to live, it's really about what you create within the four walls of your home. And we've had houses that were super tiny for us. We've had houses that were luxurious, but we didn't like the area we were in. It all just matters what's going on inside your home, how you decorate it, how you feel when you enter it. And so for me, that just means putting things that you love up, love to look at, things that you've collected, art that your kids have created, photographs that you love of your family and friends. So to me, that's what it means. It means comfort.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Rose from Ash Street Interiors. Welcome to my home in Northfield, Illinois. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Rosemary Wormley. I own Ash Street Interiors, and welcome to my home. So we lived in Winnetka for 9 years, and we were actually putting an addition on our house when this house, which is in Northfield, just one town over, came on the market. And I had always kind of had my eye on this area because the lots are 2 and 3 acres. There's a lot of privacy here, but it just doesn't turn over very often. So we actually abut Sunset Ridge Country Club behind our property. And a friend of mine who belongs to the country club, when this house came on the market, she said, "This is the house for you. You have to go see it. It has land, it has a pool, it has a New England vibe," which is, I'm from New England, and that was what I was always looking for in a home. And even though we were putting an addition on our house in Winnetka, I came out to look at the house and I just absolutely fell in love. So I went back, kind of broached the subject with my husband, who I did not think was going to be open to even coming to see it. He ended up coming out to look at it as well, also fell in love, and we put an offer in on it right away, kind of before our addition was even done in Winnetka. And so we fast-tracked that addition, finished it off, put the house on the market, all in a matter of about a month, and the rest is history. So this house was built in 1920. When we bought this house, the additions were already on the home. The previous owner was also an interior designer and actually had taken impeccable care of the home and really had done a lot of beautiful renovations, but they had been done in the 80s and 90s. So it was, a little bit dated, but really beautifully done. At this point, we've probably touched almost every room and every space, just really to update it. So you'll notice as you go through my home, I do have a very coastal style. I was born and raised on the East Coast, and I do still bring a lot of that style and aesthetic into my home here. I tend to have a little bit of a minimal approach to styling and to the decor. I love art. We focus a lot on kind of like the art and the textures and the colors in the home, as opposed to having a lot of highly styled spaces. And I have 3 kids. We entertain all the time, all of us. So as a family we entertain, but each of my 3 children also are consummate hosts. They're always having people over. We always host large groups, and I like there to be space for us to grow and work and move and be able to put food out or put feet up or drop bags down. And so I tend to like a space that's a little bit more minimal and functional and modular, able to move things around to accommodate large groups, accommodate different types of parties, different type of hosting. And you'll notice that I think in a lot of the spaces that a lot of the pieces can be reconfigured to create something new and different. Welcome to my living room. We do spend a lot of time in here, particularly in the winter. The fireplace is original, And this was all painted black. And we do have a new insert. I added this antique mirror here and added this trim surround just to kind of finish it off so it didn't look like it was just floating in the space. And we do use this fireplace quite a bit. I mentioned before that I like things that are modular and can be kind of reconfigured and moved around. And these ottomans are a great example of that. They're hide ottomans, super soft. We love to put our feet on them. But for functionality, I do have these great shagreen trays on the top, and they can be taken on and off. And so they're here, they're styled now. They're great for drinks and for putting things on. But when we want to put our feet up and be a little more casual, these can come off, and then the ottomans can be moved in any direction and are a great place to put your feet up. And these chairs as well, they're comfortable, but when we want to move them out of the way so that someone wants to lay in front of the fire or our kids do homework in here, these are lightweight and can be moved kind of over to the other side of the room and tucked in the corners as well. And these are just a beautiful Worlds Away chair and with a holly hunt pillow on them. And the lighting in this room is tough. I mean, I will say, so in older homes, there's not a lot of overhead lighting, and the lighting in this room can be tough, so we did have to bring in a lot of lamps and a lot of sconces to give us additional light, particularly in the winter. So we have added sconces here, and these are a vintage sconce that I found at an antique store in Massachusetts. And we have picture lights over here. These actually are family trees of my husband that his aunt did for his family. That goes all the way back to the time when they actually came over from Germany to America. And so we have 3 of those with the picture lights above. Here we have our piano, which we did have this when we moved into this house. And so it was really important to have a space for it that was kind of in the middle of everything. All 3 of my children play, and they all take lessons a little bit reluctantly now that they're teenagers, but they still do humor me and they all play. So it's a central focal point of our house. And I have these beautiful X benches that were done by Liven Up Design, who makes great custom furniture, and I have quite a few of her pieces. And this is actually one of my most favorite patterns. It's Schumacher Iconic Leopard, and I actually have this in a few places throughout the house because it is a favorite. This skirted table, you'll see quite a few skirted tables in the house. I love a skirted table because you can switch them out. I actually have several skirts and trims for many of the tables in my house, and I do turn them around kind of seasonally sometimes. I also love it because you can hide things underneath. And I won't show you what's underneath this one, but I actually have the children's piano books and lesson plans for piano tucked underneath this particular skirted table. And this piece of art, this is a favorite. This is from a local artist, Jack Flynn, and it's called Departure because you have this smaller rock kind of departing from the larger rock. And he painted this piece for Laughlin Gallery in Highland Park, and we purchased it from Laughlin. And I just love the colors and the subtleties. He's known for painting these hyper-realistic, soft landscape spaces, which is just perfect for my aesthetic. And I just love this piece. It's a favorite. So the paneling in this room is original. And when we moved into the house, it was much warmer, almost yellow color. And I really did struggle with wanting to paint it, but wanting to keep it original. And so what we opted to do was we did a hand-applied whitewash finish that my painter did for me. And I think it came out absolutely perfect. I love the space. I love that you can see the knots and the grains and even, the little imperfections in the paneling. But mostly I love that we were able to keep it true to its original form and not paint over it and still get the effect that we wanted. So even though this couch is white, it is a fully performance treated fabric. And so we do put our feet on it. The dog is on it. We love it because it's curved, conversational. We can fit a lot of people here. Again, I have this Schumacher Iconic Leopard, which is my favorite. So I have this on the couch. And then this is a fabulous Holly Hunt velvet with a large flange. And all of these pillows, I mean, we use them. We lay on them, we put them on the floor, we move things around. And I feel like the fabrics are great workhorse fabrics and they look luxe, and the room still looks beautiful, but it's really functional and works really well for our family. So off the living room, we have this little vestibule here, and we call this the library. And we have built-ins for all of our books. We have more books underneath as well. It's painted this beautiful blue. And we also have our record player here. This is hooked up to our sound system throughout the house, and so we're able to play our records here and listen to it throughout the house, including outdoors. And we have an extensive record collection, some of which we keep out, and the rest of which is kind of hidden away in these shelves below. And I also have two of my husband's favorite pieces of art here because his office is just to the left here. There's a beautiful gallery in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, where we also have a home. And every time we're there, I try to go in and see what's new. And it's called Wild Horse Gallery, and we buy quite a bit of art from there. And this was a piece that I bought recently from Wild Horse. My husband's a big fly fisherman, and it just shows an oil of a fly fisherman in one of the rivers in Steamboat. And we had it framed locally in this beautiful leather frame by Will Frame It, and he does a lot of our framing for us and did a beautiful job with this linen mat and the leather on the outside. And on this side, we have another oil painting. This is from, actually my husband and I were on a trip to Cody, Wyoming, and we walked randomly through this art sale, and this woman, Tracy Stevenson, was there selling her art. And this particular painting is called Catch Me If You Can. And at the time, my daughter, the horse that she was riding in competition, the horse's name was Boogie, but the formal name was Catch Me If You Can. And so we felt like that was meant to be, and we bought the piece, again, brought it back, had it framed by Will Frame It here locally in this linen and leather as a complement to this other oil. And I think that they just work really well together in this little space on this beautiful grasscloth wallpaper. And then on the floor, we have yet another stark carpet, and this one is also animal print, a little bit different than what's on the stairs, but this is a beautiful black and white animal print from Stark, and provides a nice contrast to the softer grass cloth on the wall and the blue paint and the brass hardware. Now let me show you our courtyard, which is right off of our living room and one of our favorite things about the space. So this is our courtyard space, and when we first moved in, the courtyard was here, but it was grass. And so we put the edging in and added this crushed bluestone. We added this Harlequin outdoor patio area with a cover and a fire pit and comfortable couches. And we love this space because we come out here all year long, even in the winter. We roast s'mores out here, we hang out by the fire, and it's just a great family space for us all to be together in a more casual setting than being out by the pool, which is seasonal. Welcome to our entry. This is a very small entry, as you can see, and it is off of our front door. What we did in this space, just to make it feel a little bit larger and more airy, is we added this paneling from floor to ceiling and then painted it a soft gloss white. And this bench, there's a great story. Actually, this beautiful bench was designed by my friend Liz Sherwood of White Couch Designs, and she designed this bench for her room at the Lake Forest Show House. And I also did a space at the Lake Forest Show House. So when this particular settee was for sale, I bought it and brought it here, and it could not fit more perfectly in this space. It looks like it was custom made really for this space, and I just love it. It's so fun. The sconces are our interiors, and the art. We have a love of horses. My daughter rides, we have a horse, and we spend a lot of time traveling to horse shows, and so that's another thing you'll see kind of throughout the house is we have a lot of equestrian art and pieces that we love, and this black and white is one of them. And over here, this shagreen trunk is actually where I hide a lot of my packages that come in and mail, and it just helps to keep this space right near the front door a little bit, neat and tidy. And we do also have a small but mighty powder room right off of our front entryway with this beautiful cravat wallpaper and vintage art that we had framed locally. So now we're in the kitchen, which we did recently remodel about 2 years ago. And we put a lot of thought into the kitchen because it is the heart of our home. We spend a lot of time in here. Everyone in my family cooks. My husband loves to cook. I love to cook. All 3 of our children as well. And it's just a great space for entertaining, preparing meals, hanging out together as a family. And so we really wanted all of the materials that we use to be really family friendly, really low maintenance, and not have to worry about who was cooking what, how they were cleaning up after themselves, how many cooks there were in the kitchen. And I think we accomplished that by using porcelain as a surface. And porcelain has been used as a kitchen surface in Europe for a really long time. It's relatively new to be used in America, and you have to find a fabricator that really, really knows what they're doing with this product. But when you have someone who can fabricate it, it comes out beautifully. And it's heat resistant, scratch resistant. You can put hot plates right from the stove onto the surface, and you don't have to worry about being vigilant, picking up stains or cleaning up after yourself, which I love. And we used the porcelain on this island, all of our surround, and on our backsplashes as well for both the sink wall and the backsplash on the cook wall. We also carried it into our butler's pantry area for both the counters and the backsplash. One of the things we did in this kitchen that you'll notice that's a little different is we opted for a lot of drawers as opposed to cabinetry. And this worked well for us again because we all love to cook. We like things to be really just at arm's length. And so we have all of our dishes and pots and pans, cooking utensils, small appliances are all in these nice deep drawers that are along the perimeter and then also all the way around the island as well. We also knew in the kitchen that we needed an extra large fridge and freezer. And so we have this side by side. We did these panels so that they would look like a side by side with drawers underneath. But this is actually one whole panel for the fridge and then one whole panel for the freezer. And we did this in this beautiful cerused oak finish. So we also matched it to our vent hood over here. And we have an induction cooktop, which again, I think is a little bit rare. I think a lot of times you see people, putting in the big wolf ranges or a Le Cornu, but we really love induction cooking. We had one at our old house, and again, it's just great for the whole family to use. You can put the pan anywhere you want. It boils water in a matter of minutes. And once you remove your pan, it's cool to the touch. It's very hard to burn things. We cook with skillets a lot, and it's a really nice, even, temperate way of cooking that we love. So one of the best decisions that we made was putting in 2 full-size sinks. So a lot of times you'll see a full-size sink next to dishwashers, on your sink wall, and then there'll be a smaller prep sink in the island that's used for cooking. And so we opted for 2 full-size sinks. Our prep sink is actually larger even than our regular sink on the other side. And we did one of these galley sinks for the prep sink that has all of these modular pieces that can pop in and out, like the cutting board and the rinsing board and the strainer. And this was probably one of the best things that we ever did. We use it all the time for cooking, and it's super handy, easy to clean, and we love that we have all of this big, deep prep space and then have another deep sink across the island that we can use for our pots and pans and soaking. And we did also do double dishwashers, which again, I think is probably one of the best decisions, top 3 decisions that we made for the kitchen was to put 2 dishwashers in. They are always full and always running. So around the corner is our butler's pantry. And when we started in here, this was a command station. So when we moved in, this was kind of the traditional desk and filing cabinets and counter space that was very common for kitchens in the 80s and 90s. And we just decided that we did not need that space, but we certainly needed storage and we did need a pantry. And so again, here we opted for, more deep drawers, some cabinets on the bottom, and these beautiful glass cabinets on the top where we don't keep it highly styled, but we do keep all of the things that we use every day in these cabinets above. And we have a wine fridge here that's often filled with things other than wine because the kids come in and grab and go, but it is a nice feature to have here. This is where we kind of drop and go our mail, our keys, and this is where we, put up kind of our invitations and important things that we want to keep note of. So we do have still a command center. It's just a lot smaller and a lot more organized. And then these are actually our pantry cabinets. The doors open and we have pullouts on the inside, and we use one side kind of all for food, canned goods, and the other side for small appliances like our mixer, blender, and things like that. And right off the side of the island, we have our dining space, which is part of the kitchen. We put as large of a table as we possibly could in here. We can seat 10, but we can also seat 14 if we really have to here. And a lot of times we have even more than that. And this space here, we even have been known to add tables and seating in here as well when we're accommodating larger groups. We opted for these lucite chairs here as opposed to doing something fabric or wood because, again, they're really durable. The pool is just outside. We have kids in and out in the summer. Sometimes they're wet. These are actually indestructible. You can spill on them, you can get them wet, they wipe off and come clean, and they always look fabulous. And that's one of the things I love about the space. So for a light fixture for this space, we needed something that was kind of large. The table is big and the space is large, so there's a lot of negative space. And we wanted something that was going to be kind of structural and architectural looking, but again, clean lines and kind of a simple palette. And we opted for this beautiful Aran chandelier. It's plaster on the outside, and I think it just gives a really beautiful, light, airy look to this space without being too fussy. So another thing that's a little bit uncommon about this space is we do have this small laundry room off of our kitchen, which I absolutely love and I would never change. When we were redoing the kitchen, we did talk about taking this out and putting in a walk-in pantry, and we decided to keep this darling little laundry room, which really lets me stay on top of laundry all the time because everything comes in and out of the kitchen and then goes right up to where it belongs. There's not much in here. There's a washer dryer, a linen closet, a small table for folding, but it's perfect. Now we're gonna go to the dining room. So this is the dining room. Just like I love a skirted table, I also love using fabric as tablecloths, and you'll see that I have this as well in a few spaces. And this is just a fabulous Schumacher fabric that I love, that I have as a tablecloth on the table here. This table does have 3 more leaves that we can put in, so we can extend it all the way basically to each end of the room. The room itself is not very large, but we are able to fit a lot of people in here. Again, we do have white fabric on the chairs, and we're able to keep it clean because it is a performance fabric and it is fully treated. One of the things that I love about this space is the art that we have in here is really meaningful. We have 2 special pieces. This art over here this is a Zach Smithy piece, and we commissioned this piece of Bob Marley for my husband's anniversary. And we're a very musical family. We all love music. We all love Bob Marley. And so we wanted to put it in a prominent space in our dining room. And this other smaller piece on the left, this is Kelly Reamston piece. And my husband bought that piece for me for our anniversary as well. And it's one of my favorites. And so even though the 2 pieces, when you look at them together, they don't really, kind of go together, but they're 2 of our favorites, and so we wanted to give them a prominent space in our dining room. This is another beautiful Aran chandelier from Visual Comfort, and again, I like lighting that's large and kind of statement lighting, but not fussy. We have this fabulous stripe wallpaper on the walls in blues and grays, and what I like about it is it gives this space kind of a casual feel, so that it doesn't feel too formal. When we do take the tablecloth off and extend this table, it's a beautiful dark wood table. This table is actually an Edward Wormley for Dunbar table, and Edward Wormley is a famous furniture designer, and he also is related to my husband. And this painting it doesn't have any, special meaning. I did buy this one just because I loved the colors, I loved the blues, and it has that coastal vibe that I think works well in the space. And these built-ins are original to the house, and so again, instead of taking them out, we wanted to keep them and painted the interior the soft blue, changed out the hardware, and these are great felt-lined pieces for silver. that we do use, and then we have our china storage below. Again, with the decor, I just like to keep things, simple, fresh, clean, easy to move around. I do decorate for the holidays and kind of switch these things around based on how I'm feeling. And again, kind of just a coastal vibe that I like. I find it relaxing and calming. This space here, this window seat, we recently redid the front of the house, the window and the corbels that were underneath. And there was a very long discussion about getting rid of this bay window and window seat, just because from the outside, I think maybe a flat window would have looked better with the architecture. But we really could not get rid of Birdie's favorite dog bed. And so we joke, this is the most expensive dog bed in the world. If you pull up to our house, this is always where she's sitting. This is where she takes her naps, and we opted not to get rid of it. So we just let her lounge on these beautiful Schumacher pillows in cut velvet that you love. And we keep a quilt over the upholstered piece here just to try to protect it from Birdie. But this is her dog bed. In my home, I really do tend to decorate with what I love. And so it doesn't matter to me necessarily if it always coordinates or matches or even really fits in the space, particularly with art. I love to be surrounded with what I love, and I like to see the things that I cherish. And I think it's really hard to get clients into that zone sometimes. Our clients want things to look aesthetically beautiful, and I think they have a vision in their mind. A lot of times they want their homes to look magazine ready and not necessarily lived in. And our homes are definitely lived in. And so I think it's hard to get clients sometimes to go down that road of letting go of perfection to have something that feels really personal and really homey. So this is our family room, and as you can see, this is a very big, long space with high ceilings. And so in here, we really had to create zones. And so we have this area here focused on our TV, and this is, even though in today's standard, it is a rather small TV, this is the only TV that we have on the first floor. We do have a larger TV in like movie theater style in the basement where the kids go when they want to watch TV, but this is kind of it for the first floor. So we have our seating area here focused on the TV, and then our seating area on that side focused on the fireplace. And so we have these two zones set up so that we can accommodate a lot of people and everyone can still feel like they're part of the conversation, but definitely breaks the room up into two distinct areas and just makes the space feel not so cavernous and long. In here, we have these great chairs. These are probably the most comfortable chairs in the house, and these were an estate sale find. And so there's a local woman, Annie, who runs Nest Estate Sales, and when she knew these were coming up, she actually called and said, I have these chairs and I think you're gonna love them. They're in pristine condition. I didn't even have to reupholster them. They came exactly like this, and she was right. They were perfect, and so I bought them. So these are great find. This is a vintage coffee table, and while it seems a little small for the space, I love that it disappears. And really in here, we're mostly lounging on furniture. We have our small ottomans that we pull over when we want to put our feet up. And so I love that this kind of just has a very clean, simple vibe and kind of disappears into the space. And we just keep it, again, not super styled on the top. We have the remote for the TV, plants, which I have everywhere and love, and just kind of keep things simple in here. We usually have a lot of people in here, and we've hosted parties and dinners and wreath making events at Christmas, and everything in here can also kind of be moved around and reconfigured. So if we need to have more bodies than furniture, we're able to do that in here, and that's part of what we love. And then this is our fireplace area, and here we have two of these fabulous Jonathan Adler conversation couches. And I feel like everyone's a little confused when they first see these because they are kind of funny looking, but they're really, really fabulous. And you can fit so many people on them. They're perfect for lounging. They're perfect for sitting by the fire. And they are great for conversation. We often find that we're all kind of congregated over here together as a family or when we're hosting friends. And I just love just the relaxed feel of these. And again, they're super, super comfortable. And the fireplace, again, is original, similar to one in the living room. It actually is almost, the same as the one in the living room with the insert and a very simple surround. The sailfish actually is a replica of a sailfish that my husband caught in Mexico. And they do an artistic replica that looks like the exact fish that he caught. So he's very proud of this fish. And when this fish was first shipped from Mexico into our house in Winnetka and we opened up the giant box, I thought, where on earth are we going to put that thing? And it was really jammed into a space that was much too small. When we bought this house, there was a lot of debate about whether or not this would have such a prime spot in the house, but my husband won and we actually all love it. And I do base a lot of the colors that are in the room on this piece. So the rug that we have in here, this is a Stark Performance rug, and we did have this cut to size. So it spans the length of both of the sections, so it gives it some nice cohesion. And again, it's a performance, so it's super durable and it's easy to clean. We've had it for a long time and it still looks fabulous and it's still soft underfoot. And I love Stark Performance carpets for that reason. I think they're great. We use them all throughout. I have them in other places in my house as well. So this space is right off of the living room, but still part of the living room. And this has had many lives in here. We had a ping pong table in here at one point. We had 2 seating areas with swivel chairs and game tables at one point. And we actually brought in a larger table here during COVID. And this is where all of the kids were doing their homework and doing their schoolwork. And so once that ended, we decided to keep this as a dining space. And it works really well because it is off the pool. Kids do come in and out here. And we have this fabulous wet bar area over here, which again, for kids coming in and out of the pool or for entertaining is just a really great space. It has this beautiful butcher block top that we stained in this fun overmount sink in that blue that I love, and a lot of storage underneath for cushions and pillows and trays and things that we use a lot for entertaining outside. These chairs actually are a set of 6 original Tone chairs, and I found these at a garage sale in Evanston probably 15 years ago. And I was so excited to find out that they were original. They were wood when I got them, and I did paint them white, but I absolutely love them. They're one of my favorite sets of things that I found at a garage sale. And they're very comfortable and easy to keep clean. So the rug in this room, this is an indoor-outdoor, and I actually have 3 separate rugs that are sewn together to create one long space. And underneath the floor is stone and it is heated. And so this is a nice kind of cover for the heated floor, and you can walk on it when you have wet feet. It's completely scrubbable and cleanable. You can use bleach to clean it. And again, it's just another completely indestructible flooring surface that looks fabulous, but then I don't have to worry about it when we're hosting and when the kids are running around. So it also looks like a favorite Pierre Frey pattern that I love. It's not Pierre Frey, but I love that it replicates that pattern and has that same look. This space was an addition. It was here when we bought the house, but I know that it was added on because we had a set of the plans from the previous owner. And when they added this space on, they called it the cabana. And originally it had kind of like chaise lounges that were facing out to the pool. All of these French doors actually, open up, and there are screens that pull and close. And so it can be used as an extension of the outdoors. We really use it more as an extension for our living room and for the inside, and then have separate furniture outside that we use around the pool. But we absolutely love the skylights in here and love that the light, that it brings to the space. It's just really beautiful. And these look fabulous from the outside and from the inside. So we love it. I have these in several places too. There's a set over there on that side and a set over here. And these are beautiful letterpress maps. There's a woman on Etsy, her name is Quill Lane Press, and she does these beautiful custom letterpress maps. And so I have them for Newburyport, which is where I grew up. There's Boston Harbor, and then over there we have Cape Cod and Cape Ann, which is where we got married and where we spend a lot of time in the summer as a family. And this fabulous bar, this is another incredible piece. This was designed by Rowan Ward Designs, and he is a bespoke furniture maker out of Wilmette, and he just makes really gorgeous custom pieces. And so he made this piece. It's fluted and has this beautiful, gray oak top, and it's on casters, so it can be pulled out from the wall if we want something to serve behind when we're hosting, and then when we just want to use it for a surface space, we can push it up against the wall the way it is now. So again, it's a really beautiful piece that's simple and sophisticated, but it also has a high level of functionality, which we love. So now we'll go into our mudroom and pool bath space. So this is another really long space that we have broken up into two, and with the mudroom on one side, and we call this our pool bath area on the other side. And so this door here goes out to the pool, and this is a really nice way for kids to come in and out of a space that almost acts as a pool house and not have to go into the main space. So we have this armoire here where we keep all of our pool towels, all of our goggles, sunscreen, and kids can kind of come just in and out here and get what they need and not have to come into the main house. We have this beautiful performance vinyl on the walls. This is a Tebow paper, and again, it can withstand being wet, handprints, having even wet towels hanging on these hooks here. It's a super durable paper. And we're able to, wipe it and keep it clean and looking fresh like this all the time. This is kind of a drop and go center. We have a lot of kids that come in, they're bringing bags, they're bringing phones, they want to, drop things here instead of leaving them outside. And we leave this surface kind of free for that. There's often, 8 to 10 phones charging on this space. And we do have several plugs underneath that can accommodate that. These, poofs, again, these are also indoor-outdoor fabric. Sometimes we even move these outside when we need additional seating. And the rugs, again, we have a limestone floor. These rugs are a performance rug, great material, so it keeps when there's wet feet, it just keeps it safe, and so that kids aren't slipping when they're coming in and out. And these prints here, this is a good explanation of our family. Half of us are always praying for sun and half of us are always praying for snow. We're a house divided for sure. And I think my daughter and I would always rather be on a beach, and my husband and boys would always rather be skiing. And so I think I just love these two prints, and they're cut fabric done in the flag style. And they're just a great representation of our family. So coming off of this pool bath area is the main mudroom. And in this space, when we moved in, the cubbies were here. They did have doors on them. And we took the doors off of the cubbies. I know a lot of people love closed storage, and I do as well, but the activities that my kids are involved in really call for having open storage. So our kids at camp right now and not in the ski season, and so the cubbies are a little bit empty, but in the winter, they're filled with skis and boots and helmets and all kinds of winter gear, and it's just a lot easier for us to have hooks in some, and in some we even have hanging rods where we're able to use hangers and hang up the things that we need. And then each kid also has their own basket above and drawer below where they can stash other small items. I have 3 teenagers, so everyone's pretty self-sufficient, and we don't have to worry about having things, on a low hook or with easy access. So the kids know which cubby is theirs. We have actually nameplates on the cubbies here. Like this one is Augie. That one says Teddy there. And then Antonia and Mom and Dad have one over on the end. And then there's extras because we do have a lot of stuff that we store in here, from lacrosse to skiing to horseback riding gear, which my daughter rides. And so even here we have a little, these fabulous brass tack hooks that you would normally find in a barn, and we put them here so that we can hang some of her tack here as well, and a tray here for her boots, which come in and out of this slider, and they're very muddy. So she gets kind of her own area there for her riding equipment, and my husband has his for fishing, tennis, skiing, and lacrosse. So it's a great space. And in here, I mean, this is a little bit unconventional to have in a mudroom. This is just a fabulous beaded chandelier. I just love the way that it looked in the space. I do have it over this bench, this is covered in a great indoor-outdoor Tebow fabric. This is actually a coated fabric, which is why we were able to tuft this bench. And you can spray this actually with Windex and clean it off. So muddy things can go on here. It's almost like having a laminate fabric. And this is actually new from Tebow, and I've been using it quite a bit. So with the bench, underneath the chandelier, it allowed us to put something maybe a little bit, lower, a little bit softer. I feel like it gave this room more of a feeling of a room, as opposed to just having a pass-through space or a mudroom. It gives it a little bit more of a feel of a place where you want to stop and kind of hang out. And this is the bathroom that is off of our kind of pool bath area. And again, I wanted to do something really fun. This is one place where I actually did go a little crazy with pattern for me. And so we have this fabulous Tebow wallpaper in this Honshu print. And we also did a fretwork, also Tebow, on the ceiling. And we have this beautiful colored mirror here and kind of a real mix of materials in here. These fabulous Wheezy towels in the green stripe with the little tennis racket, and this great Worlds Away vanity in the cerused oak. And then here I do have, hooks across here. We do use this as a changing area. Again, the kids come kind of in and out from the pool into this space. They hang up their suits, they change into their clothes. And so this whole space kind of gets used as the way a pool house would, but it's just attached to the house. Now let me show you a beautiful pool area. This is our pool area, and we spend a lot of time out here in the summer. We actually open our pool in April and keep it open all the way to October. So we really try to extend the season and make the most of it, because then we have to settle in for the long Chicago winter. So we have a seating area over here where we can accommodate a lot of people. I like, again, the indoor-outdoor, easy to clean, easy to maintain fabrics and pillows and even surfaces out here. So all of these tables, from the side tables there to the modular coffee tables here, are really low maintenance. We can move them around easily. If we want to bring a larger table in here, which I actually have one kind of hidden behind there, we can do that. And so these pieces are also modular. So these couches can be made into a sectional or can be pulled apart and made into a smaller couch and a chair. So we do reconfigure the space quite a bit. And we have lots of umbrellas. I just love the fringe on them. When the wind blows, they just look lovely. And they have really great bases on them, which is really important here, because you want umbrellas that you can leave outside, close up for the night, and you don't have to worry about them blowing into your pool. So we have these fabulous 250-pound bases on the umbrellas that are also from Business and Pleasure, and I cannot recommend those enough. These side tables here also double as coolers, and these have just really great insulated storage space inside, and we do use those quite a bit. And they'll keep everything nice and cold, and we have two of them kind of on either side. So the pool was here when we moved in. I often say that I don't know that I would have bought this house. 10 years ago, had we seen it then, when I had all young kids, because the pool is so close to the house. It's right off of that living room area, the family room area that we were in before, and very close to the house. But it was here when we moved in. We've done a new surround, new coping, and we are actually about to replace some of the tile that's inside the pool this season. So it's one of our favorite spaces in the summer for the house. This is our patio space, and this is right off of our kitchen. And we do eat, cook, and live out here quite a bit, from the spring all the way to the fall. This table seats 10, and we do dine and entertain al fresco all season long. And so we love having a large table and being able to accommodate a lot of people. And here we have our herb garden. My husband has a fabulous garden on the other side of the property, but here we keep basil and parsley, oregano, rosemary, And we have some lettuce here, and it is a cutting garden, and we do use it quite a bit, just coming in and out of the kitchen when we need something. We cut it from here and bring it inside to cook or throw it on the grill, and it's really great to have it kind of in an organic style here right along the patio. And on that side of the patio is where we have mint and thyme, spearmint, and several other different kind of herbs on that side. And this is our garden, and I'd love to take credit for it, but I have to say that this is all my husband. I do advise on design, and of course, I did put the benches and these fabulous pillows by Horticulture House along the side of his garden. But the growing, the planting, the weeding, and the care and cultivation is all on him. And so we have a cutting garden here for flowers with beautiful snapdragons, and we do cut these quite a bit and use these as organic arrangements on our tables. And he also grows many variations of peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, chard, and you can see his one little pepper growing there, chives, and all kinds of different things in here. He grows Brussels sprouts and kind of changes it over seasonally. And we really do cook with it all season long, and it's lovely to have, and it's a great space to just sit and enjoy your coffee in the morning, and it's a beautiful space. I'm very proud of him. Another feature of the house that we absolutely loved that was here when we moved in was the tennis court. And while I don't play tennis myself, this court is used for all sorts of things, and so anything from dance parties to movie theater nights. My kids ride their bikes on it, and so it's really been used more as a hard surface sports court than a tennis court, but we absolutely love it. So I'm self-taught. Our doors have been open for over a decade, and when I started in interior design, like a lot of people, I had kind of my whole entire life been drawn to it and been interested in it. I'd always moved things around, redecorated. I was always the one that friends called when they were prepping their homes for the market, or they wanted advice on colors and patterns and redoing kitchens. And this was even when we were in my 20s and 30s. And my background is actually in communications, and I had a career in nonprofit fundraising before I segued into interior design, but I'd always done it as a hobby. And when we moved into our house in Winnetka, which was also an old home, over 100 years old, we did a big gut renovation on the home that was kind of, all floors, inside and outside of the home. And I really took that as an opportunity to hone my skills, and I shadowed my contractor. I probably drove him crazy, but he was wonderful, and he taught me a lot. He let me come to all the electrical walkthroughs, and we talked to me about the rough-ins, and I kind of did everything from the ground up on that home, and I did it on my own. And after that is when I really decided to turn it into a business. A magazine actually came in and photographed the home and published it, and I thought this is a really good time to see what I can do and open a business. And so I had, very shortly after I started my business, I had a friend in Winnetka who was building a home, and she again brought me in with the builder and the architect, and that was my first big project. And the original plan was to kind of slow roll the business, do one project at a time, get my name out there, build a brand. But once I did this new build, I've actually had a waiting list ever since then, never been without a project. It took off a lot faster than I thought it would, so which I'm grateful for. So this is our second floor landing, and on the floor, stark again, we have this beautiful Antilocarpa carpet in navy and light blue, which is kind of a common theme throughout the house. And on the walls here, we have again a beautiful Tebow grasscloth paper that is a performance and can be wiped and washed just like all the other surfaces in our house, but it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, which gives it a little bit more of a formality up here leading into the primary suite and the bedrooms. This table is really our drop and go for the second floor. Right now it looks lovely, but usually there are piles of laundry, things for the kids to pick up, things that I don't want them to forget, and I just love having this big space right at the top of the stairs. Everyone has to pass by it before they go downstairs. And so if there's something I don't want the kids to miss, this is where you'll find it. And then above here, we have this beautiful Kate Spade for visual comfort light. Again, it's oversized and big. There's no other light in this space, so we needed something that was going to cast a lot of light. And I just love the perforated circles. It's a metal finish. Again, a large statement piece, but it's simple in its design. So this is my daughter's bedroom. She definitely had a hand in designing it. And teen girls today, I think a lot of times they want things that are white and light and plain and very simple, which luckily for me, that goes along with my aesthetic. So we were able to design the space together. We have a little, coastal art up here. We did beautiful blue and white seersucker sheets, simple bedding, beautiful monogrammed pillow. This is, we try to keep her room fairly organized. Teen girls have a lot of stuff. And so we added this jewelry organizer for her jewelry and try to have trays and wall shelves over here so that she has places to store and stash all of her various little things that she collects. And on this side of the room, we have this large sectional. Again, she always hosts a lot of sleepovers, has a lot of friends over, and they do love to hang out up here. This is also a performance fabric, which is why we're able to keep it so clean. And then we have this ribbon wall where Anna put some of her recent show ribbons up, and so she can display them and keep them nice and neat. We rotate these out so it doesn't get too crazy and messy. And this light fixture, this is just a glass globe fixture. It does provide beautiful light. Again, there's no overhead light in this space, as is true for a lot of the rooms in the house, because this is part of the original house, which was built in 1920. And so we have a lot of lamps here, a lighted mirror, and then this light fixture that casts a lot of light as opposed to something maybe that had a shade or chandelier. This one is both beautiful and functional. And she has a pass-through closet. Again, we opted for doing open closet space in here. It is a little bit of a smaller space. She does, have a lot to store. And so we have a whole section that's just for her writing stuff here. And then, oddly enough, you'll find a lot of teens have a massive collection of hoodie sweatshirts. And she's no exception. And so we have these kind of here color coordinated for her. Clothes on this side, and then shelving and drawers on this side. And then this is her bathroom. Again, another small but mighty space. And we tried to keep things light. We have this beautiful marble daisy stone tile, which we love. And everything has a honed finish, easy to keep clean, but keeps things really light and bright in here. Beautiful walk-in shower with a large niche for all of her various products. And we have this beautiful art by Katie Powell-Brickman, who's a local artist that does these gorgeous, colorful pieces. And I love her fresh vibe. Now we're gonna go check out the boys' bathroom. So this is the boys' bathroom, which we did just renovate. And this has a fabulous walk-in shower. This is probably the biggest of all the kids' bath showers. And we did this great modern fluted tile on the walls and wraps up all the way to the ceiling. And the boys, again, have this huge niche where they can kind of put all of their product, keep it out of the way and clean. And we opted for a really beautiful pebble stone tile on the floor and this lovely honed marble tile for the main part of the floor. Again, just really wanted to give this space an open, clean, simple vibe for the boys. Both of my boys share this bathroom. So we have the double vanity, these beautiful touch cabinets, which give them a lot of storage. There's hamper pullouts here that give them storage, for clothes, and then up here for towels and toiletries. And just another one of those maps from Quail Lane Press, and this is of Olympic National Park, where both of my boys have done backpacking and hiking trips, and so that's a meaningful place to us, and so that's the art that we selected for their bathroom. Home means family, for sure. Like I said, we host a lot, we host friends, we host family, our house is always full, and my husband will say, nothing makes me happier than when everyone is here. I grew up in a home that was the house where the door was always open and everyone always wanted to be at my house. And so I want to replicate kind of that feeling and that vibe here. And I think that we have. We constantly are hosting my kids and their friends, and everyone knows that they're always welcome here. And I think that home just means having a full house and having a happy house. Thank you for coming, Homeworthy. It's time for you to go. I have some projects I have to get back to. Hope to see you again.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.